everybody. Prepare yourself for some higher learning.
Welcome to Sky High. As you probably were aware of, I had a big censor bar over my horribly mutilated face, nasty chemical spill and all that, you know, Daredevil style. So I went to a witch doctor that worked at Spirit's costume shops. And, you know...
They have a witch doctor?
Yeah, apparently they have a witch doctor. Yeah, she took me in the back and I came out like this. So, you know, I don't know what went wrong, but now I got, like, some invisible superpowers.
Yeah, Mike, by the way, could you put, like, some pants on?
What? So, when this movie came out, you have to keep in mind that this was on the uprise of the superhero genre. Spider-Man, X-Men, you know, were really big in the theaters, and another film that is key in this was also Harry Potter was really big in the theaters. The whole film's a response to the popularity of Harry Potter and superheroes. The Disney, they're trying to find some way to jump on the bandwagon. Of course, they end up leading the bandwagon eventually, but at this point, they weren't working directly with Marvel, I don't believe. First attempt out, they did a CGI movie called The Incredibles. It came out the year before this film. And then this film comes out a year later. And if you watch the movie, it is actually a lot like a Pixar film in tone. The Disney was attracted by the original concept of children of superheroes going to high school. And the script for this was actually written in the 90s, but they didn't develop it because when it was written, most studios didn't have faith in the superhero genre. But then during the, you know, the rise of the superhero genre, they hired some comedy writers to come on to revamp the script. And the studio hired director Mike Mitchell, who at the time was known as the director of Deuce Bigalow.
Really?
Yeah, the director of Deuce Bigalow
awesome.
did this.
That's why I let him handle this stuff, because I'm always like, I want to get surprised when I learn this stuff, too.
And he also did Shrek Forever After. Oh, God, this one's not good. He did Alvin and the Chipmunks.
That's been a surprisingly popular franchise. They've had 2 sequels. So, good work for you, Mitchell.
All right, so in this cast, first up we have Michael Angarano. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. He plays William Theodore Stronghold, also known as Will. He starts off the movie having no powers. He's one of the more established child actors in the cast. He appeared in Almost Famous. He played the child version of the main character in that. He was also in Seabiscuit. I believe he was Tobey Maguire as a child. I'm not totally sure, but he was in Seabiscuit as well. And a big name here, Kurt Russell, as Steve Stronghold, the commander. His super ability is super strength and invulnerability. Kurt Russell is a name that should not need introduction, and if it does need introduction, then chances are I'm speaking to a bunch of children out there who are too young to be able to appreciate him. Of course, you know, you got Snake Plissken, escaped from New York and L.A.
Movie. Love that film.
Yeah, I mean, he's a huge name in you know, the you know, kind of science fiction action genres of the 80s and 90s. Oh, Big Trouble in Little China. And I love him in this movie. I think he's one of the best things about it. And then you have Kelly Preston as Josie DeMarco Stronghold, or Jetstream. And her ability is supersonic flight. Kurt Russell's suit apparently had a cooling system in it, but she couldn't have a cooling system because her suit was too tight, and they couldn't figure out a way to work it into her bodysuit, so she just had to suffer through the sweat, I guess, which sucks. All their characters have their own color scheme. Like, Will's colors are red, white, and blue. It's kind of like, it reminds me a lot of, like, Clark Kent in Smallville, how he always wore, especially in the last few seasons, he always wore the red or blue shirt with the red or blue jacket.
Right. It
was always red or blue.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own color scheme in this film.
So the movie starts off with an animated comic strip explaining the Commander and Jetstream, Earth's 2 greatest heroes, and a married couple, and parents to Will, our main character. Will he loves being, you know, the son of these incredible superheroes, but at the same time he feels the pressure of living up to them. And this pressure gets heightened up. In fact, it's his first day of high school, but it's not normal high school, it's Sky High, an entire school devoted to helping the children of superheroes to become to develop their powers on how to fight crime or supervillains at the same time. Will even kind of makes a fib and makes his dad think that he has inherited super strength, but we find out that he actually has not developed any superpowers at all, and it's just a huge secret he's been keeping from his parents because he doesn't want to disappoint them. He does stuff like pretend like he's lifting really heavy weights, like when his dad comes in the room, he has like a bar just filled with like hundreds of pounds worth of weights. And it's just, you feel kind of bad for the kid, because I mean, if you were the son or the daughter or, you know, whatever of the greatest superheroes on Earth, the pressure would definitely be on. So next we get introduced to Layla, who plays Will's best friend, and she's kind of a hippie liberal girl. She's just the same age as Will, like 13, 14, something like that. But they're best friends, and there's no one he cares about more.
Danielle Pennebaker as Layla, very poison ivy-ish in her appearance. She's able to animate and control plant life. This is the actress's feature film debut, believe it or not. I think she's quite good.
So they get on the bus, and they meet Ron Wilson, bus driver,
Played by Kevin Heffernan,
who's very excited to meet Will. He's already fanboying over him, which is funny seeing an adult fanboy over a kid. So they get on the bus, and they meet a few other characters that will become their friends in the course of the film. A couple of them they already seem to know. So the bus starts driving off, and then boom, Ron pulls a lever, and it transforms into some kind of jet plane. It flies right off into the sky. Kind of cool special effects. Remind me of the car from Men in Black, the way it transforms, and these giant like thrusters and jets pop out of the back. They take off into the sky. Some of the kids are freaking out. Some of the kids are like hollering. And then they make it to sky high. The kids are getting off the bus, are walking up to sky high. All these other kids are around them, juniors and seniors and sophomores. Some kids are displaying their powers. One kid laser beams some girl in the butt, so she freezes the crap out of him, which was funny and cool. They're approached by the school's two bullies, Lash and Speed.
Jake Sandvig, who plays Lash, basically a Stretch Armstrong. Then we have Will Harris, his companion in crime, who plays Speed. Role was originally intended for an athletic kid, but the casting agent found Harris so likable that the role is changed to accommodate his size. So he must have made a big impression. Ha ha ha. Big impression.
Stretch powers and super speed. Of course, they do classic, like, bully crap you see the freshmen. Like, oh, you got the freshman fee, give me the money. And at first, they don't seem to be falling for it, but they are confused. And then we get Gwen Grayson coming up, the leader of the student council. And Will, our main character, he is just going gaga over her. He's, like, melting in front of her. And
every time he sees her, you hear that
every
song.
time, like, he turns into, like, Doug Funny. He just, like, music starts playing, and, things get fuzzy.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Gwendolyn Gwen Grayson. By the way...
Isn't it Winstead?
I don't know. We'll say Winstead and Winstead. Hopefully one of them is right. But she plays Gwendolyn Gwen Grayson. Now pay attention to that name. Gwendolyn Gwen Grayson. Take out Gwen, Dick Grayson. Take out Grayson, Gwen Stacy. Her name is a combination of Gwen from Gwen Stacy and Spider-Man and Grayson from Dick Grayson and Batman as Robin. There's a bunch of little tidbits like that throughout the whole thing. She was also one of the more recognizable child actors in some of the time. She was also the oldest of the young cast, being 21 years old during production.
So we see there's going to be a love romantic issue here, a love triangle, because we figure out pretty early on that Layla has a big crush on Will. He's completely unaware of it. So next we go to the gym, where we find out that when you go to this school, you are either classified as a hero or a sidekick, depending on what your superpower is. Not what your morals are, not, like what any other, like, skills you may have, based purely on your superpower. And it is decided by the gym teacher, Coach Boomer. Everyone gets up and displays powers. Basically all of Will's friends get turned into sidekicks, and their powers are like, they're not really what you call heroic. And some kids become heroes. One kid can turn into a giant, like, rock creature, like super strength, And then we...
And, I just want to say, I could really relate with this, Vince. What do you think I would be? Do you think invisible powers, what do you think I'd be? Sidekick hero, huh?
Creeper.
Creeper? Creeper?
Creeper.
You think I'd be a... Yeah. Okay.
I still love you, buddy.
But that makes me kind of a villain.
It's okay. No. You need a mentor. That's all it is.
We should also mention in this gym scene that there are two actors that are introduced that are very well known among certain circles.
Linda Carter, who plays Principal Powers. Vincent is very familiar with this one.
For those of you who are not old enough or you didn't watch Nick at Night as a kid, everybody knows Linda Carter. She played Wonder Woman back in the live-action TV series way back in the day. One of the few live-action superhero TV series I ever had, and it was hugely popular. And all of our parents' generation totally remember it. It was cool to have a cameo from someone who actually played a superhero in this. So always awesome.
And a much better cast for Wonder Woman than Gal Gadot. But that's a whole other conversation.
That's a future episode. We're going to get into that stuff. We're going to get into all of that.
The actress was originally given gold bracelets to wear as an homage to her 1970s Wonder Woman role. Warner Brothers didn't want the bracelets shown in a Disney movie, so they were removed. But she does get to say a Wonder Woman line near the very end. What did she say again? She says, "It's not like I'm Wonder Woman or anything."
Exactly. It's
so she gets a little stab in there. Then we have, oh god, I love this guy, Bruce Campbell.
Oh yeah. I love Bruce Campbell. If you don't.
You're a Nazi. If you don't like Bruce Campbell.
Or
Hydra.
Or Hydra. You gotta watch out. I've seen the news reports.
Yeah, but Bruce Campbell plays Tommy Boomowski, known as Coach Boomer, and he releases sonic waves from his vocal cords. I mean, having Ash, the man from Evil Dead, in this movie, it's just awesome. I mean, he does a lot of cameos, and I'm sure that he was cast most likely because of the cameos he was doing in Spider-Man. I mean, I think they maybe want to carry the tradition a little bit, possibly. That's just maybe my guess. But it's always a pleasure to see him in anything. So, welcome, Bruce Campbell. You're always welcome anywhere on the movie screen for me.
Groovy. So, they switch to, they're taking a break from their orientation day and going to lunch, where we see the character of Warren Peace. He's like the bad-ass dude who wears a leather jacket at school, and he is burning a hole through the back of Will's head. And I don't mean superpower, I mean he's just staring him down, because it turns out that Warren had a superhero mother and a supervillain father. His father was Baron Battle. That was sent to jail by Will's father, the commander. So he holds a grudge against Will for being the son of this hero that put his dad away.
Stephen Strait, who plays Warren Peace. That name is obviously a pun on the novel War and Peace. He has pyrokinetic abilities. The actor is a former model, and this was his first audition, this movie. He had never acted before. His first audition, and he got the part. And I think he's pretty good in the film.
But now we come back to the gym, where now it's Will's turn to show Coach Boomer his powers, and unfortunately Will doesn't have any power, so Coach Boomer classifies him as a sidekick.
Yeah, Coach Boomer drops his card down on top of Will, expecting him to catch it with super strength, and Will has to duck underneath it to survive. So he gets sent to the school nurse to make sure if he's okay.
You have Cloris Leachman, who plays Nurse Specs. She has the ability of X-ray vision. And she actually also appeared in the 1970s Wonder Woman series as Queen Hippolyte. She was Wonder Woman's mother. And a lot of people I know her from tons of things. She was also Frau Blucher from Young Frankenstein.
So also, some of you may have, for all the Broken Lizard Island fans, you also know her from Beer Fest for playing Gam Gam. That's a more recent role.
And, Young Frankenstein, I mean, we have to have some Mel Brooks fans out there, right? Spaceballs? Woo!
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs, the movie. She wasn't in that one, but I just love Spaceballs.
Cut to the next scene where Will goes home, where he's talking to his parents, asks how the day was going. Of course, he lies. He doesn't tell me he has any powers. He of course doesn't tell him that he's not a hero because he doesn't want to devastate him. Which you kind of get the feeling, because the way Kurt Russell plays his father, he's not... For a superhero, he's not that smart, and he's kind of...
I'd say more oblivious. He's more
oblivious, and he has a huge ego. I think that's where it hurts. So,
his kryptonite.
Yeah.
His ego.
Yeah. So, but what happens? He's like, well, it's your first day of school. You're classified as a hero now. I'm going to take you into meet your mother's secret sanctum. So they hit a few buttons, a little touchpad, and they go to a secret lair underneath their house.
Batman style.
Yeah.
Batman. The pole's going down.
Yeah, and even slide down the pole's old school Batman style. So he shows them around, shows them their secret lair. It even shows them the weapon called the pacifier, which they took from a supervillain named Royal Pain, which was the first supervillain that him and his the father and mother teamed up together to defeat. And ever since that point, they were always a superhero team. Will asks, what does the pacifier do? And he has no idea, because they beat the supervillain before the Royal Pain ever got to use the weapon. So, it seems like a little loophole, but it's not.
The trophies in the Secret Sanctum remind me a lot of Batman's trophies, because in the Batcave he keeps mementos from some of his different adventures. I believe that also Superman keeps trophies in his Fortress of Solitude in some of the comics. So there's a few different superheroes from the comic books that have trophy rooms, and this feels like a little homage to that.
You know, they go to school the next day, their very first class, and they meet their teacher, Mr. Boy, who used to be the sidekick All-American Boy. And he's really this kind of sad character because you feel so bad for him because he used to be a sidekick of Will's father, the commander, before he met his mom. And after a while, I guess he just sidekicked him away. And you see how sad he feels because he feels lonely. Like, he had the job, he's teaching future superheroes, but he misses being with the commander. He misses, and apparently may have a secret love for Jetstream, the mom.
This is Robin's fate.
Yeah.
Dave Foley, who I think everyone loves, he plays Jonathan Boy, All-American Boy. Clearly a character based off of Robin. He is one of 2 cast members from Kids in the Hall. And speaking of which, coming right next is Kevin McDonald, who plays Professor Medulla. He has an oversized brain, advanced intelligence. Yeah, it's cool because there's certain scenes where those guys are interacting, like at the end they dance together and stuff like that. It's just cool to see them both together in a movie.
Story goes on, and we see a montage of him teaching all the sidekick students, all the stuff they're going to need to know, how to use the utility belts, how to switch out of their normal clothing into their superhero outfits. And it's real cool stuff, like little music playing in the background. By the way, a lot of music in this movie, redone 80s songs, or covers of 80s songs. Some of them are cool, some of them just don't translate well into like the modern era.
Yeah, they didn't work for me.
Yeah. So the scene continues on, and as we're going through the scenes, every once in a while we see a cut to a supervillain in some kind of lair that's secretly watching Will and his family. And it also has some kind of annoying little jester villain sidekick that keeps making an irritating laugh and then getting fucking choked out. That is too close to it. You're disturbing me.
The mysterious villain is very Doctor Doom-like, and the jester reminds me of kind of Harley Quinn, because he kind of got that same kind of...
Yeah, if Harley Quinn was a man and not as lovable. People love Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and most people are very attracted to her. I don't think too many people are attracted to this jester guy.
Nope, not much. Anyway, on with the story. So, Will has his friends over for, like, a homework session. They're all going over notes and, like, if your hero's fighting a radioactive zombie, what do you give them as a weapon to fight with? And Will's father shows up in his superhero uniform, and he's, like, talking to the kids, and they all tell him what their powers are, and you can see he's a little confused as to why Will is hanging out with these kids. Will tells him, and Will finally breaks the news to him that he was a sidekick. Commander is furious, and he says, Coach Boomer, he's screwing with you. No, he admits to his dad that he was lying about having super strength the whole time. And, it's kind of this moment for Will to say, like, I'm a sidekick, and I'm proud of it because, all my friends are sidekicks too, and they're all great people.
Yeah, this scene is like a reversal of the scene in X-Men 2 where Bobby Iceman comes out to his parents as being a mutant. Here, though, it's his son coming out as not being a superhero. It seems to be a commentary on children coming out to their parents, whether it be being a homosexual or not wanting to follow in their footsteps. It's a relatable scene, though, for many people, I'm sure.
Next scene goes into where Will's parents are talking about they come to grips with the fact that he's not going to be a hero, but they're still his son, so they still love him. Next scene is in the cafeteria back at school, and Lash, being the bully he is, trips Will. Will falls in the cafeteria, and his food goes flying into War and Peace. And then finally, what we knew was going to happen, Warren attacks Will, and he flames up and starts flinging fireballs at him. And he's running. He gets ducks under the cafeteria table, and he's trying to get away. And War and Peace gets up on him, and he's blasting flames on each side. So until Will, it happens. He gets super strength, and he lifts the table up with Warren right over him and chucks him against, like, the wall. And he goes flying, nails against the wall, and then smashes through the table. The battle goes on for a little bit. The funny thing is that the teachers see the battle, and they really don't do that much until the principal shows up.
Yeah, I mean, isn't this like attempted murder? Because when what's the guy's name? Pyro? What? No.
War and Peace.
War and Peace, yeah. When War and Peace first starts attacking Will, he doesn't know he has superpowers. As a matter of fact, as far as anyone knows, he doesn't. So pretty much, you're attempting to kill him right there. If one of those fireballs hit him, he could be dead, man.
Yeah.
So you'd think he'd be expelled. I mean, it's attempted murder.
Yeah, because it happens right in front of Coach Boomer and Professor Medulla, the science teacher. Well, mad science teacher, my mistake. And they're just like, whatever. They don't
attempted murder, it happens all the time here.
So Will's able to stop Warren by, like, ripping open a fire extinguisher and taking out his plans. That's when the principal shows up and puts them both in the detention room, which is actually a really cool room. It's all white and very high-tech looking. Apparently negates all superpowers. So Will tries to make peace with Warren, but Warren just isn't having it. So Will comes home later that night and reveals to his parents that he has super strength. He's really excited, but they're disappointed in that he almost destroyed the cafeteria. His father takes him into the sanctum to give him a talk, and actually he could be more happy. He doesn't give a crap that half the cafeteria got ripped apart. He's just happy that his boy has superpowers. Not only has superpowers, but the same superpowers as him. He's got super strength. Oh, my boy. That really doesn't he's kind of like this joke of a father sometimes. But he's a loving father. It's just funny the way he handles Will. He's just so happy that, it's like it's kind of like what you expect, like a really guy who's into sports so much, and his son is like captain of a football team. The way he would react then. Hell, he even gives him an Xbox. Like, boom.
Yeah,
and once again, this mysterious supervillain-like character is watching them. So we get more of that.
You know, Mr. Stronghold?
What?
Is that, he's giving all this now, but what'd you do for your kid the first, 16 years of his life, man? You're not allowed downstairs. You stay up here. You're not allowed to play pool with your father. You're not cool enough to play pool with your old dad in the basement.
There's a pool table in the secret sanctum.
Yeah, if I was a superhero and had a kid, I'd want to show him around, man. I'd want to sit him down on the Batmobile and stuff like that. I don't know. It seems like hey, you're not cool enough to play pool with your old man in the basement. You, Dad. But thanks for the Xbox.
So time goes on.
By the way, major plug. Because then they have the jester, and he's like, "I wish we had an Xbox." It's like you expected a big ad to pop over the whole movie, like, buy an Xbox now.
So next day at school, Will shows up to class, and Mr. Boy gives him a slip saying, "Hey, you're being transferred to hero classes." He's a little disappointed he has to leave his friends behind, but they're like, "Don't worry, we'll see you at lunch," and whatnot. So he goes to the mad science class, and all the lab partners are taken, except one. The beautiful Gwen Grayson, oh yes. So now he gets to sit with a girl he's crushing on, who it is funny at crushing at first, but after a while she starts to crush on him back, which is very odd, because he's a freshman and she's a senior. And she reveals that she's a technopath, and he's like, "Oh wow, that's really cool. I mean, I can just punch stuff, but you can control machines and all that stuff." And she starts to take a liking to him and stuff like that. The movie goes on where he's sitting with her at lunch, and his sidekick friends come over to sit with him, but Penny, the cheerleader at the school who can duplicate herself and fills up the rest of the seats at the table. Will tries to apologize to Layla and say, "Hey, sorry that happened. How about you and me go get some dinner tonight at your favorite restaurant? Hang out." And she's excited because, once again, she has a huge crush on him. So for her, this is like a date. For him, it's just making up to his best friend.
Also, this is apparently the only restaurant in the entire town.
Yeah, the restaurant shows up again later in the film.
It's like the hangout spot when you're on Earth. You just go to this cheap Chinese-looking place that could be a set on a soundstage. Probably is.
I don't know. Anyway, they look pretty realistic to me. So Will goes home later that night, and who happens to be at home? It's Gwen, and she wants to talk to Will about being on the homecoming committee and all that kind of stuff. And she introduces him to his parents, and they love her because she's
stroking their ego.
Of course, he forgets that he was supposed to meet Layla, and she's all alone at the restaurant by herself. But who happens to work at the restaurant? Warren. They have a sit-down talk, and, he tells her that it's pretty obvious that you have a thing for Will. And, he gets kind of, even though he's kind of like the bad guy at school, he's actually very nice to her. I guess, he doesn't, I guess he kind of sympathizes with her in some way, feeling like a rejection or whatever.
You're a standard rebel with a heart of gold.
Yes. But anyway, so the next day, they're at the bus stop, and Layla, after a pep talk from Warren, is going to tell Will that, she likes him and wants to go the prom with him. And then he tells her that Gwen is going to be his prom date, so she kind of backs out on what she was going to say. They get back on the bus, they go up to Sky High, and they confront, and Lash and Speed, the two bullies, are picking on Will's friends. And his friends kind of challenge Lash and Speed against Will to a thing called Save the Citizen, where it's a little competition they have at the school. This is actually a cool part of the movie. The entire school assembles in the gym, and they have Save the Citizen thing. It's cool. They have these little obstacles where they have a dummy robot that's hanging from the ceiling that's falling down off a rope on a timer.
Reminds me of rollerball.
A little bit of rollerball because they have this big spiral blade thing that's going to chop it up. They have two. Yeah,
suits too were very rollerball looking.
Yeah. They kind of dirt bike gear.
Yeah.
Almost like. So playing Save the Citizen, 2 teams of 2. One team plays the villains, the other team plays the heroes. Of course, Lash and Speed beat 2 other students, and as the winners, they get to pick whether they want to be the villains or the heroes for the next round. And they pick villains, and they also get to pick who their opponents are. They pick Will, and for Will's partner, they pick Warren. They're Save the Citizen. Everybody is excited because like Will's the first freshman to ever win at Save the Citizen.
It reminds me of like Galaxy Quest, where they're like, "No, Jason Nesmith saved us," or whatever. Like Alan Rickman's like, whatever, because like War and Peace, he helped too, but they give Will all the credit.
Well, anyway, so that happens. So now Will's even more popular than he was before. At first, he was kind of popular for being the son of the two greatest heroes. Now he's popular for being a hero. Now he's popular for being going to save the citizen. He's starting to get a little strange from his friends without realizing it. His real friends, not the other hero kids who are just being friends with him because he is a hero.
Sitting at the cool kids table.
Yeah, that kind of bullcrap. So Layla comes up with a plan where she asks Warren if she will go to the prom with him to make Will jealous. He agrees, not because he wants to go on a date, just because he wants to get back at Will. So that happens, and then Gwen is able to convince Will to have a few people over at his parents' house while his parents are away doing superhero stuff. And Gwen turns into a huge party, and at first Will's all like cool about it because now there's a huge party at his house. He's a little worried, but Gwen distracts him with her like looks and charm, and she even kind of convinces him indirectly of letting them into a secret sanctum, which he was never allowed to do. His dad said, "Don't ever freaking do that." While they're down there, somebody comes in and snatches the pacifier, the device that his father was showing them.
Moving at super speeds. I wonder who that is.
Who could it be? Who? Layla shows up to the party, and Gwen Will doesn't want to be with you anymore. He's a hero now. You're just a loser. And Will catches Layla right before she leaves, and she's like on the verge of tears, and he realizes what Gwen does, and he stops the party and dumps Gwen right then and there. Forget about prom. I want none of this. Fortunately, that's when his parents show up, and they kick everyone out. They're disappointed in him, but at the same time, they can tell there's something wrong with him because he's not being confrontational about it, and tells him that he's not going to the prom anymore.
And then the dad's like, "But you have to go to the prom because we're supposed to get our reward."
Yeah. We got to the next night at the prom where everyone's showing up, all of Will's friends, and everyone, like all the teachers and all that kind of stuff. Except for Will, he's decided not to go until he realizes that the pacifier is missing, and then he calls Ron with a bus driver to get up to the Sky High.
Well, he also recognizes Gwen's picture from the old photo album his parents had.
Yeah.
And it's like no one recognized her because she had glasses on. It's kind of the Clark Kent thing. Like Lois, how could I possibly be Superman? I have glasses. Superman doesn't have glasses.
Yeah. So Will comes to the conclusion that Gwen is actually the daughter of Royal Pain, the superhero that Commander Jetstream defeated before, because of her resemblance to a girl that went to school with his parents that looks just like her. We found out that's not exactly the case later, but anyway. So we get to the prom, and Gwen reveals herself to be the new Royal Pain as she pulls out the pacifier and starts blasting everybody. It turns out the weapon, it just turns you into babies. She starts blasting everybody. The Commander and Jetstream are there to accept an honorary award. And
Johnny Boy, All-American Boy, he saves Jetstream if she's falling as a baby.
Yeah, All-American Boy is like, it's all that kind of cool stuff. Everyone gets blasted. Yeah. Will and his friend, Will's friends who are there at the prom, they even get out War and Pieces with them, and they can find Will in one of the hallway with lockers, and they explain what's going on, and he tells, "Oh yeah, I know." Will makes up with Layla and tells him how much of a jerk he's been, and that's a big kiss on her. So good for you, Will. That's the kind of girl you should have been kissing the whole time. And not psychotic one. Also, as it turns out, Lash, Speed, and Penny all work for Gwen, a.k.a. Royal Pain.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. So, and her, her evil sidekick.
So I'm just going to say this real quick, though. But, the school is monitoring everyone's progress, right? They do realize that Stretch, what's his name, Lash and Speed, that they both want to be villains, right? Why would the school keep teaching people that want to use what you're teaching them for villainy? I mean, it's like
kind of a plot hole.
Yeah, so you want to make them better villains? I mean, shouldn't they go to a villain school? A school for bad guys?
Slytherin house. I don't know. Anyway, so that happens. Will's outside. Gwen reveals her big plan. That there's one part to get revenge on Commander Jetstream, and also the reason why she turned everyone babies is that she's going to raise them all as supervillains. She's going to create a whole army of supervillains to take over the world.
Gwen has full recollection of her previous life as an adult.
It turns out Gwen reveals that she's not the daughter of Royal Pain, that she is Royal Pain, and that when the Commander attacked her all those years ago, he accidentally activated the pacifier device and she got blasted into a baby instead of being destroyed like they thought, and that her evil sidekick just raised her again. And
a huge flaw in Gwen's plan is that she has full recollection of her life prior to being pacified. So then it's only logical to assume that the commander and all the other pacified characters would remember too, so she wouldn't be able to turn them to the dark side that easily.
Gwen Grayson's background story. The background story is that she was a student at Sky High back when Will's parents were students there. And she was labeled as a science geek and labeled as a sidekick. And that goes to show you, like, one of the messages of the film is, like, how, like an entire school will divide into cliques of, like, cool or not cool or whatever. And you kind of feel, I felt a little bad for her character because she becomes a supervillain because she was horrendously bullied back when she went to school. And she does all this because she wants revenge on everybody.
So like a little commentary on bullying?
Yeah, I honestly felt bad for her. I mean, like, I felt a little sympathetic towards her. Like, you know, like, I you know, kind of makes me wonder, kind of makes me...
Kind of makes Stronghold look like a dick.
Yeah. Yeah, the person...
Kurt Russell!
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Kurt Russell's character, Commander, he's a superhero. He's one of the world's greatest superheroes, but he's a little egotistical. He can be a little oblivious to things. You know, he's not a bad guy. He just doesn't really look at the big picture. He's a hero. He saves the day, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I really would have liked, you know, if I really would have changed the script where, like, maybe she turns good at the end and maybe she wasn't the main supervillain. Because, you know, like, maybe a little storyline where her and Will don't end up together, but maybe, like, he shows her, like, hey, I'm sorry you got bullied, and I'm not going to say you don't deserve to be angry or something like that. But, you know, you're not a bad person. You were just treated horribly. Don't be horrible.
I mean, I suppose it's a way to go. I didn't really mind the way it turned out exactly. I
just feel bad for her. I feel bad for the supervillain.
Well,
it makes her a good supervillain. If you feel bad for the supervillain, that's a well-written supervillain.
Yeah, I mean, well, they could have done a little bit more to make her more sympathetic, I think, than they did even. But, you know, there's definitely... The social commentary is already there about school bullying. I don't know if they had to hammer it over the head too much with her going good at the end. I mean, I think we kind of get the gist of that. It's also, don't underestimate, you know, somebody. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly.
You know, in school, nerds were bullied, and now nerds run the world, you know? So, at least in our generation. Nowadays, I think it's actually cool to be a nerd. But in our days, it was not cool to be a nerd. No. So, luckily, I avoided the swirlies in the toilet. But unfortunately, some of our characters in this movie did not. Like Popsicle.
Yeah. There's some stereotypes in there. The boys in the bathroom swirlies and stuff like that. It's like, that's a little cliched, even for a kid's film nowadays, I think. Her and Will battle it out. She puts on this armor that's kind of like a Dr. Doom's armor meets a techno knight. That's the only way I can describe it. It's kind of cool like that. They go to battle with her technology that kind of like blasts Will with these sparks and lightning, while Warren and Will's friends take care of the other bullies. They're able to defeat the bullies very good, and even for the characters whose powers are supposedly like psychic powers, they're really cool. Like,
they work as a team.
Yeah. Like Layla, she uses her powers to control plant life to defeat Penny because she multiplies into like 8 or 10 versions of herself. Warren and
Popsicle.
We're gonna call him Popsicle. Yeah, yeah. They're able to defeat Lash and Speed quite effectively, working together. And it's kind of a cool part because you know, it's not necessarily what power you have; it's how you use it. So that goes on, and then Magenta, she transforms into a girl because it was revealed that
Guinea pig.
What?
Guinea pig.
The guinea pig girl. It is revealed that Sky High, which if we didn't mention, Sky High is called Sky, it is up in the sky. It has an anti-grav device, and the Royal Pain is setting the anti-grav device to shut down, and they're going to plummet down to Earth. And it's about to happen. Magenta goes in with the guinea pig to try to like disarm the device, while Will is still fighting Royal Pain. And during the course of the battle, Will discovers that he apparently also has his mother's powers. He can fly. So him and Royal Pain have one final fight. He takes them out. Sky High starts to fall. Will flies down and tries to push it up, but it's too much for him. And they're able to disable the device just in time for the anti-gravity machine to reactivate. So, you know, villains are defeated. You know, Will's...
they get put in detention cell.
They got put in detention cell to deactivate their powers. And Will's father has like a realization moment where, you know, Mr. Boy's handing them their honorary award they were supposed to get, but he hands it instead to Will's friends because he realizes that you're not sidekicks, you're heroes. And the whole title saying is bullcrap. And that's pretty much where the movie ends off. I mean, they get back to the
Will
dance.
gets the girl.
Gil gets the girl he's supposed to have, that we all want to end up with. Him and Warren are apparently like friends now, you know. It's a nice little film.
I actually overall enjoyed the film. It works really great as a family film. It works in the same levels that a Pixar movie does, except it's live action. But just like any kids movie, there's of course going to be some elements to it that are a little cheesy, a little, childish, so not all of it is accessible to adults, but they do a really good job in general, though, in giving things for children and giving things for adults to appreciate. There's a lot of little homages to superheroes throughout the movie. I mean, we mentioned how some of the names...
Like when Grayson, whose name is an homage to different characters in superhero mythology.
Stuff like that. So it works on a lot of levels. The school bus trip, I don't know why, but the whole scene in the beginning where they're riding the school bus, it reminds me of, Harry Potter so much, just in terms of tone. Because, you think it's a school bus, but no, it's a magical school bus. It's going to fly us there.
Miss Frizzle loaned it to them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing that, you could just totally see how this movie's a response to the popularity of Harry Potter and, superhero movies in general at the time. There was a lot of very Harry Potter stuff, when they're being selected to, who's going to be a hero.
Oh, yeah, and just movies about kids going to schools for, seriously, there was that movie just a couple years ago called Vampire. That was a year ago.
Vampire Academy.
Yeah, it sucked, not to be punny, but...
Yeah, they also did that with Percy Jackson with Greek mythology, having a Greek mythology school or Greek
camp.
Teachers. Yeah, that was very...
It's not a school, Michael. It's a camp.
That was very...
It's totally different. It's totally different.
But it was very Hogwarts-like. One of the scenes in this that remind me a lot of Harry Potter is the scene where they're being selected if they're going to be a hero or a sidekick. That was a lot like the Slytherin or, Gryffindor selection. That was cool. And the hero, there's a bunch of little things like the hero support montage. All-American Boy on the board at one point, it reads... Holy blank blank superhero name. Holy rusted metal Batman!
Yeah.
But that was a nice little, tip of the hat. We were discussing while watching the movie, but we'll let you all in on a little geeky debate that we had. I was being nitpicky about the scene of War and Peace is thrown through a wall and then it crashes into a beam and then brushes himself off, gets right up, and walks right back out into battle.
Yeah,
it's his powers are pyro. He can throw fire. That shouldn't give him super invulnerability.
Yeah, and I think it's just a problem I'm having with superheroes. They keep adding to superheroes' repertoire of what they can do. I've seen that in cartoons and stuff, and movies where a superhero takes damage that, I don't know, back when I was a kid and I used to watch the cartoons, I don't remember them being able... another example, Spider-Man in a recent film. In the Spider-Man Amazing 2, they reveal Spider-Man has advanced healing powers. I'm like, what, since when? They act like his powers are like a Wolverine level.
He's kind of like Captain America in that they both have super strength, and their invulnerability matches their level of strength.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man is not Superman, and neither is War and Peace. War and Peace, his power is that he can throw fire. That shouldn't give you any.
Spider-Man is super strong. We're not saying he's not. Don't get me wrong. I love Wolverine. I love Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine. I just hate how his little regeneration has gotten over the past 20 years.
Well, that's why in the Wolverine it was cool, because he actually had that, they tampered with that so he couldn't heal the way he used to.
I know. Just stuff like that bothers me, because if folks of you didn't hear, in the comics, he recently survived a nuclear blast.
If you have a superhero, you should give him limits, because that's when audiences can connect with him, because, it's the weaknesses that superheroes have that make us connect.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, it's just that, I understand it was thrown in there for, make the action better, and make it a little more dramatic, which, I'll be honest, I thought that a lot of the action scenes in the movie were nice. They were really cool. Hell, they were better than the action scenes in the Ghost Rider movie. Jeez, those were so underwhelming.
Well, yeah, the last fight with Will and Royal Pain, I thought
that was really good, yeah.
I like the moment where Ron, the bus driver, spots the Jester loading the babies into the bus, and then at the end he punches him out. It's so much like the scene in Die Hard where the limousine driver watches the guy in the ambulance, and he basically does his one thing in the movie, he punches him out at the end. It feels like an homage, almost. I wonder if
it bus driver. I liked it a lot. I didn't see it when it came out in theaters, because when I first heard it come out, I thought it was just going to be some stupid little kids film.
Yeah, I miss it in theaters also.
Yeah, but then when I eventually saw it, I was like, this isn't bad. Is it still a family kids film? Yes, but it's not that bad. I think it deserves a little more credit. It has a lot of funny moments in it. The casting's really great with, everybody who they cast for the teachers, from, the... Kids in the Hall guys to you got Linda Carter and you got Bruce Campbell, Kurt Russell. He did a good job as Jetstream was played by who? I feel bad now.
Kelly Preston.
Kelly Preston.
Who, by the way, I gotta say, wow, you are aging well.
And congratulations to you, John Travolta. Anyway, So, yeah, so, I mean, it was really cool. I do like, I think, some things that did bug me, I'll say this. Once again, good movie, but I really did not like the superhero outfits for the Commander and Jetstream. The color pattern on it was red, white, and blue, all American, and that's the colors that Will wears because he looks up to his parents. And I don't know, it just bugged me. They didn't look realistic enough. They looked right off the comic strip that you see playing at the beginning of the movie, but I don't know how to put it. You could tell that they were foam. I know it's a kids' movie, so like there's certain things that they cut the budget back on, but I could tell that it was all foam and stuff that they just painted over with. It kind of like hurt it for me a little bit. Like the Commander's outfit, it looks almost armor-like, but once again, it doesn't look like armor. Like when in the Dark Knight, Batman's like Kevlar bat suit, it looked like it was made of some kind of like Kevlar armor, but with this, you could tell it's just painted foam.
It only had a budget of $35 million. That's pretty low for a movie of this size, so that might be why it Vincent.
Yeah. Give another 100,000, the suit's going to look better.
It made back its money, but it's not like it was a huge hit. It made back domestic $64 million, international $22 million. That's actually pretty low for international sales, because usually movies make most of their money back these days with international sales, so their total was $86 million. Made back their money, but I'm sure that they're expecting more.
What probably hurt is that these are not established characters. These are not superheroes we know. We know Spider-Man, we know Superman, we know the X-Men. We don't know any of these people, so that probably hurt it. A lot of people probably weren't that excited to... They probably just thought it was some kind of Harry Potter superhero knockoff.
Well, I bet you if the Marvel brand name was on it, it would have done great, because Guardians of the Galaxy had no one that anyone knew, and that did fantastic.
But yeah. So
yeah, that's Marvel, though.
Yeah. I mean, Disney had Incredibles that we said came out a year before, so I don't know, maybe people were just...
But people love CGI movies. That's the thing. People love Pixar CGI.
Yeah. Pixar and DreamWorks are always kicking that up another notch.
The actors in this movie, most of the young cast, they were actually contracted to return for either sequels or a spin-off TV series that was going to be on the Disney Network.
Really?
So, yeah, they actually had high hopes for this movie. Like, they wanted to make it into a TV show. They wanted to make sequels. So the whole thing, ended up, I guess, falling flat. They didn't do anything else with it. Yeah. But all those kids, they were contracted to return.
Yeah. It may not necessarily a bad thing, because Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who plays supervillain, well, she went to play Ramona Flowers in Scott Pilgrim, and I love that film. And hell, they did do sequels. Maybe she wouldn't have time to play Ramona Flowers.
I don't know if she was contracted or not, but yeah, she's I gotta say, The Thing, stupid movie, but man, is she a badass in that movie. She was so hot. Yeah. And she just was so mean and tough. I really like her. She was like a modern day Ellen Ripley. I liked her in that movie. She's a good actress. Producer Mike Mitchell said that Sky High functions on two premises. The adults are all insane, and the girls are smarter than the boys. Therefore, the adults of the film tend to be caricatured, while the teenage girls are written as more assertive and powerful than the boys. And that's true if you look at it. I mean, the girls always kind of know what's going on. The main villain who is screwing everybody over, manipulating everybody, she is a girl. And, you got Layla, who basically, is like, Will, you're such a freaking idiot. I mean, probably the only guy in this movie that has any kind of common sense would be Warren Peace. Because he knows that Layla loves Will, and Will's just as oblivious as his dad almost.
Yeah, he's definitely his father's son. And Warren is a cool character, because once again, mother a superhero, father a supervillain. He's the movie's anti-hero. He doesn't want to be good, but he's not bad, so he's not good.
Well, the actor, who I actually thought, especially for his first film, great job.
Yeah.
But he was definitely pulling like a Heath Ledger from 10 Things I Hate About You mixed with the rebel guy from The Breakfast Club.
I will give you that. I will not argue that point.
But he did it very well, and I thought that he managed to show different sides to his character. He had the tough guy, he had the kind of more sensitive guy, and at the end he's not that bad of a guy. Even though he attempted to kill our main character earlier in the film, we can forgive him by the end.
Yeah. Because he helped. He saved the day. And people really don't talk about this movie a lot. I mean, in an age where superhero movies are dominating Hollywood every year. Every year. I mean, think about it. When was the last time... What was the last time you remember a year going by where it wasn't a superhero movie that destroyed at the box office? Or even two now. I mean, hell, we had a lot of movies this past year that were superhero movies that destroyed. Captain America, Days of Future... X-Men, Days of Future Past. Guardians of the Galaxy we were just talking about a little bit ago. Yeah, but people don't talk about this one. And once again, it's not the greatest superhero movie ever made. It's not even the greatest family movie ever made. But it's not a bad movie at all. It doesn't seem to get much credit.
Critics actually, overall, were pretty satisfied with it. I mean, they praised it for the spoofing the comic cliches, and The criticism that I mostly read online was that some critics thought was too cheesy, that's the problem, though. When you're trying to do like a hybrid where you're appealing to adults and kids, sometimes the humor is going to appeal so much to the kids that the adults are going to think it's cheesy. Yeah, there were definitely moments in this movie where I have to admit I was kind of like, okay, it's a little amateur, a little immature, but that's for the kids. If you were 8 seeing this movie, you would totally love all that stuff.
And if you're a parent and you're a nerd and you want to start getting your kid into your kind of stuff, Sky High, not a bad first superhero movie to show them so they can get a feel for what that kind of world is like.
That wouldn't be the first one I'd show them.
What would be the first one you show?
Oh man, I want to go old school. Original Superman and Tim Burton's Batman.
Yeah.
I'd probably start them off with.
You got definitely the original Superman. The original Superman is a little dated by today's standards, but it's a good introductory film because that's Guillermo del Toro, director of Hellboy and Pacific Rim. I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this know him. He said in an interview I saw in a superhero documentary a few years back that for him the original Superman movie is the bar.
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of people that have said that.
Yeah.
Also, Christopher Nolan has said it, and so has Bryan Singer.
Bryan Singer. Oh, yeah, it's the director of the first 2 X-Men movie and Days of Future Past. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of people crediting Richard Donner's Superman.
Which, that is ironic that he would say that's the bar, considering he directed Superman Returns, and that movie was a huge flop. That is odd.
Well, see, that's actually part of the reason why Superman Returns didn't do so well, is that Bryan Singer was paying so much homage and tribute to Richard Donner's movie that he didn't have any original ideas to put into it.
Yeah, that was my biggest gripe with that film, that it was trying to do too much. It wasn't even like the Superman having a kid. Spoiler. It was, seriously, it wasn't trying to be his own original thing. That was my biggest gripe with that film.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people's biggest issue was. But, the original Superman inspired a lot of people, so that's where I would start them off at. If you made Sky High nowadays, especially with the popularity of comic book movies, thanks to Marvel, it probably would have gotten twice the budget, it probably would have gotten twice the publicity, and it probably would have done a lot better. It's just that it came out in that awkward, freshman time of superhero films where you were having some good ones, but you're also having some bad ones. The Fantastic Four movies, a lot of people didn't like those.
Yeah.
The Daredevil movie, a lot of people didn't like that.
Marvel has the rights to that back now, so whatever's happening with Daredevil next week could be Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, so you had Spider-Man and X-Men, but there wasn't a lot of other stuff. That was still kind of that period where they're on the rise, but they weren't at the top yet. And, I think a lot of people also didn't know what to make of this movie. If it was a full CGI movie, people would be like, oh, it's a kid's movie. It's going to be fun then for the family. But the fact that it was live action might have thrown some people off.
Yeah.
One other thing. The guy who did the music for this, I was actually kind of surprised by. The guy who did the music for the film is Michael Giacchino, who is known for doing J.J. Abrams films. He did Star Trek Super 8, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which J.J. Abrams produced. And he also did Disney's The Incredibles. So he did the music for The Incredibles and for Sky High.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
That's it. Like I said, there's some good casting in this film. I mean, they got a good, decent director. They got a guy doing a good score. This film had a lot of talented people working on it.
Yeah, some of the visual effects in this movie were a little cartoony, especially by today's standards. But for the time it was made and for the modest budget that they had, I think the effects worked over.
Yeah, and the visual effects weren't bad. I mean, I've seen, growing up over the years, a bunch of the Disney Channel movies, like Halloween Town. A lot of people like that one, So I've seen a lot. The budget was definitely above a Disney Channel movie, but it wasn't at the same level as Spider-Man or Batman Begins.
Well, the director Mitchell, he's a huge science fiction fan, and he said that working on this movie was a dream for him because of the cast, because he got all of these people from science fiction films. He was totally stoked about working with Wonder Woman and Snake Plissken, Ash Williams. He said these were some of his favorites, and that it's definitely cool to have that many cool people under one roof. But I looked at some behind the scenes stuff, and it looked like they had a really fun set. The kids, they actually had the kids all in separate trailers, and they were all supposedly at first they didn't want them interacting when they weren't working because they didn't want any of the kids to date each other and then break up 3 weeks into production. So they actually tried to regulate how often the kids spend time together, but it looks like they loosened that up as time went on because in the behind the scenes I saw, they looked like they were hanging out together all the time, but the director originally tried to keep some barriers up.
I think that seems ridiculous to me because if the actual actors are getting together well off-screen and building friendship, they're building a chemistry for on-screen. So that I understand.
Maybe they had them separated into boys and girls. I have no idea. But, like, they were worried that they were going to date, break up, and then hate each other while they're trying to shoot the movie, and it's going to mess up production. Well, I don't want to paint a picture that's like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, where they're, like, whipping the kids and they have to do everything a certain way. I mean, it looked like everyone had a lot of fun. It became like a big family, it looks like to me, and I think they all got along great. And I think you can see it on screen. I mean, everyone seems to... it feels like the relationships are genuine a lot of the time. Yeah. Obviously, that's going to, bleed into the atmosphere of the film. The movie's fun. And it looks like everyone had fun making it, and you have fun watching it if you're with your family.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would recommend checking it out. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever. It's not the worst thing ever either. But hey, if you have little children and you want to have fun with them, check it out.
I think I would have gotten a kick out of seeing this turning into a TV series. I think Disney Channel has tried something like this already. I've heard that they've tried other TV series about kids with superpowers. I don't know if they've been successful or not. I would like to see this one become one because it was a cool film. I enjoyed it. And I don't know. It's just one of those films I don't think is as much credit as it should or as attention. That's my final thought.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. If you've managed to stick with us through all of this.
All right, everybody. Have a good one. We'll see you next time on Review the Nerds.
Live long and prosper.
Indeed.
We're just going to cut this part out.
Power of magic. Movie editing. You're not going to see any of this.
Nope.
We might put it in the blooper reel. If we make a blooper reel. Yeah. But first. Making Michael laugh while he goes with notes. Nothing you can do. Okay.
Alright. So, I'm just laughing about what you were doing.
Off camera.